Good evening. I think I'll put this in if that's all right. Right. I'll try and stay to time, I promise. So hi, my name's Joe. I'm an architect and a certified passive house designer at Respond Architects in Takapuna. As you can hear, I'm not originally from New Zealand. I got here 5 years ago for 7 months, and now nearly 3 kids and a house later, I'm still here. So our property has just been finished. We moved in at the weekend, so I'm pretty shattered, I'm afraid. But it was one of the case studies in the Healthy Homes Guide. At that time, it was just starting on site, so that was about 7 months ago. So this is our house. The scaffold is now down, thankfully. It's hopefully going to be a certified passive house. Certification is pending. We still need to do the last blower door test, but we've got a very good result on the original test. So the reason for doing this, construction costs are continually going up. Every month there's another 10 or 12% on timber, on steel, on all sorts of bits and pieces. But our houses aren't improving. We're not getting anything for that. They're still cold, they're damp and unhealthy, and they're expensive to heat and cool. So we need to look at ways of doing things better, either for the same price or cheaper, and think about more long term. It's not about just the upfront cost, it's about healthier homes, lower heating bills going forward as we kind of move onwards. This is the house we've been living in for 4 years. This is a single glazed, badly insulated, pretty standard, typical New Zealand house. We try and heat it, we try to ventilate it. It's no ventilation systems, no fixed heating, it's all fans and all sorts of things. That window is in my daughter's bedroom, right next to her bed. They cough every winter. It's horrific, and I don't think anybody should live in that way at all. This is our why, helping build our house. But the difficulty is it's expensive and people can't really afford it, so they just move into either existing properties, which are no better than this, let's be honest, or even new code-built developer homes, which are the worst legal building you can possibly build. So we sat there and thought, we have to try and do better. I can't believe it's this expensive just to build a home that keeps your children healthy. So let's see if we can do it, basically. We'll be the test case. We'll put the money where our mouths are. Not very much money, but enough. So my perspective, the fundamental purpose of a building is to keep its occupants safe and healthy. No matter how many awards it gets, no matter how beautiful it is, if it doesn't do that, it's not a good building. So I think we need to kind of reassess what our priorities are in regards to our homes. So how do we keep the costs in check? So we plan for the future. We built simple, compact forms. We prioritise the envelope because it's a lot easier to upgrade your kitchen than reinstall your windows. We had simple, robust interiors that we could develop over time. We made our spaces work hard. As Bob said, you don't need to build big, you need to build clever. And think about what you can do yourself. So planning for the future. So this is our home. It was originally a 3-bed, 1-bath, single-storey house on a rural property. And I designed it so the structure worked, so that we could simply install a staircase, and suddenly you've got an extra bedroom, living space, and bathroom upstairs when we could afford it. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way. We got the valuation back, and the valuation said it wasn't going to be worth what it cost to build it because it was only a 3-bed and everybody wants bigger houses according to the market. So we had to try and squeeze in the upstairs accommodation, which we managed by making compromises on water tanks. We went with plastic instead of concrete, and we had a sensational builder who really wanted to help us get it over the line, which we can't thank enough. Simple forms, again, as Bob said. So these two houses both have exactly the same square metre footprint, just adding a simple angle. The red is the surface area of the building, so that's your heat loss area. That's where all your heating is going to be going out of. Just by complicating the form slightly, you've added an extra 16 metres squared of heat loss area to your building. So you think about all the, the incredible architecture that we've got in Wellington with all your turrets and all sorts of things. Imagine the heat loss area over these incredible looking buildings. So keep it simple. So we went with a simple, efficient thermal envelope, but it doesn't need to be boring. You can add decks, overhangs, louvers, untreated spaces like garages or sunrooms, all sorts of things, and you can still have a beautiful building while it's still having a kind of a simple and high-performing envelope. So the main focus of our project was to provide a healthy, high-performing envelope with an interior that you can upgrade as and when your bank account allows. The most important thing is about getting that interior environment right, and your shiny taps can come later. So our building is triple glazed timber and aluminium windows imported from Poland, and we saved 40% on the cost of those by importing them. We've got something called structural insulated panels for the walls and roof. We've got Terralana insulation in the floor, which is sheep's wool insulation. And we've got a fully ducted mechanical heat recovery ventilation system, which basically stops all the heat from being lost outside of the building. So the most important things we considered: site-specific insulation. You don't need to just bang in loads of insulation because that can be bad, especially when you're in Auckland and you get overheating every year. Good air tightness, which just means you're trying to stop unintended air leaks. It doesn't mean you're living in a hermetically sealed box at all. And minimising thermal bridging. So we went with the timber suspended floor because concrete slabs are quite a little bit more complicated and so more costly to keep insulated around the edge. So we started out with a field, and then some piles, and then a dance floor. And then our walls started going up. SIPs are all prefabricated, so they're incredibly quick. I think it took 2.5 days for all the walls to go up. Roof popped on, membranes and proclimer, metal roofing, and then we just went with cheap plywood cladding painted. And you can probably tell it's kind of tramping huts, and kind of local vernacular was kind of the inspiration behind the project. On the inside, this is where we can upgrade as we need to. So we just painted the inside of the SIPs. And it saved us the cost of lining it, of jib stopping, all sorts of things. I built the kitchen myself, which was interesting. It's all plywood internal walls, so it's all upgradable. We can paint the plywood, we can replace the kitchen, we can add linings. But I feel I love it. It makes me very happy to be there, to be honest. And in the bathrooms as well, so we just went cheap, went Trade Depot for the bathrooms. Our vanity units are a drawer unit from Kmart with a sink glued on the top. So that cost us $120 instead of the $500 you might spend on another vanity. And we actually won those wall linings on a Facebook competition, which helped, so that was quite good. Think about what you can do yourself. I'm looking to be hands-on, so I made our own cast concrete sink and countertops with a little bit of help. But going cheap, you can always add little touches. So for the kitchen, it's some beautiful birch plywood. The concrete countertop, which I cast, came out really well. We had some help from Abodo and had some beautiful Abodo cladding on the inside of the porch. It's quite pricier cladding, but just having it on that one little area just really kind of added a special sort of quality to the entrance, and it smells amazing, actually. So while we set out to try and prove that healthy homes can be achievable for all, we did have extra help being in the industry and being able to do other things myself. So it's not a perfect test, shall we say. So we had no design fees. I only charged myself in stress, so that was all good. We had reduced consultant fees with in-house engineers, which helped us. It was a contractor's first passive house, so they're really keen to get it across the line. And the learnings on it for both of us have been fantastic. We had specifier discounts who wanted to get their products into the project, which we're very appreciative of. And not everyone can cast their own sink at the end of the day. I just really like the sink, sorry. So the figures, everybody wants to know, balls to the wall, what are the numbers? How much did it actually cost? So as I say, this is a different sort of project, so it might not be as comparable, but I thought it important just to walk you through it. So we had a fixed price contract of $426,700 plus GST. That's for the build, not for land or anything like that. We've got 169 square metres of gross floor area, so that's about 2,500 a square metre plus GST. Talking to our QSs, they would say always allow minimum 3,000 construction only to the outside line of the walls for a standard new home in Auckland. So I'm quite proud of what we've managed to achieve, if I'm perfectly honest. And as well as that contract doesn't just stop at the walls. It also included the covered deck, 59 square metre covered deck, 4 big water tanks, a full septic system, power cable trenching, and at the end of the day, it's a one-off architectural designed home. If this was kind of a developer build where there's lots of the same thing going on, this sort of thing could reduce costs with supply chains and all sorts of things. And I just want to point out that metre square rates really suck. They don't really tell us anything. The same house with a $100,000 kitchen or a $10,000 kitchen, that metre square rate is completely out the window. It doesn't tell you the quality of their home, it doesn't tell you how it performs. It's, So we have to use them because there's not really another way to quantify it, but just be aware of that, basically. And also, if you're building yourself, just be aware a project is not just the construction cost. Metre square rates and contract values don't include the land, which you all know is bloody expensive. Consultants' fees, we usually say, starting 70, 80,000 for geotech, architect, engineers, all sorts of bits and pieces. Council fees, if you're doing a resource consent, a building consent, development fees. Insurance, GST on top of all of that. You know, your metre square rates aren't just metre square rates. You add your 15% for your GST and your many, many Bunnings trips that you'll have to do. But with some simple steps, you know, plan for the future, build simple, prioritise the envelope, simple interiors you can upgrade, make the spaces work really hard, think of what you can do yourself and think of the running costs at the end of the day. That model, after a lot of stress and a lot of vision, has turned into this, which I say we moved in on Saturday. It's warm, we've slept in it since Saturday night, doesn't have any floor finishes, doesn't have any hot water, but it's still comfortable, just about, if you like camping. And it just kind of shows that, you know, healthy homes are achievable at more standard budgets. And just the kind of the journey of starting out with that render on the left and seeing it turn into that real photo on the right has just been incredible. And I think every person in New Zealand should have this. That's my 2 girls, my wife, and the little bump in the middle there. And we're happy and we're healthy and everyone should have this basically. So thank you very much and thank you for having me.